Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to our channel. So in this video, we are gonna see, what if Naruto became Konoha's Dark Fox? Handling a stuck-up prick and useless fangirl. This is part 1, subscribe like for more. And before that, here is summary of the story. He passed on his first attempt, gained a team that cared, a sensei that taught them, and then almost lost it all. Now being placed on a team once more, how will Konoha's Dark Fox handle a stuck-up prick and useless fangirl? So let's get in the video. Now that the students have graduated, we need to decide teams and which jonin shall become their senseis. Any sug. Ada Kakashi must become Uchiha-sama's sensei. Nobody else is qualified. An old man sighed as he was interrupted. Sarutobi Hiruzen was an old man, but he was also the Hokage, strongest ninja in the village. He was in a council meeting to decide how to place the new academy graduates together and who would be best to teach them further. Normally it would just be him and the Chunin instructors making these decisions. However, this class was full of many prominent clan heirs, and as such, he felt the clan heads should get a say if they wished. However, that meant a council meeting, and unless it was wartime, calling a council meeting also meant calling in the civilian side. And the civilian side had spent the years since the Uchiha massacre doing any and everything in their power to make sure the only Uchiha left, Sasuke, got whatever he wanted as well as the best of it. It was getting quite annoying. Kakashi already has a student, and after the incident, he has expressed his personal feelings against getting another full team. Sarutobi countered. He knew full well that Kakashi never wanted a team in the first place, but the one he was placed with almost 3 years ago grew on him. Then it happened and he's down to one final student and neither are wanting to bring in others. But who else could teach Uchiha-sama how to use his Sharingan when he awakens it? Another civilian pointed out. Most of the civilians nodded in agreement and a couple clan heads secretly admitted they actually brought up a valid point. Then once he awakens it, I can have Kakashi give him private lessons in his spare time on the proper usage of the Dojutsu. Hiruzen was really hating the council right now. What started as a simple meeting to let the clan heads offer their own input for their children's education and careers turned into another glorify Uchiha-sama argument. He was getting sick and tired of these. From 4 years ago when they wanted to force him into the Kra to produce more Sharingan ninja to just last year when they wanted him to graduate early, they wanted to give Sasuke everything without him having to lift a finger. Just place him as Uchiha-sama's sensei. Spoke an older woman with pink hair and green eyes. Haruno Masaki, mother to Haruno Sakura and owner of a small business, was the only civilian council member to actually have a child in the graduating class this year. So if she was offering her input about her own daughter, the old Hokage would have been glad to hear it. However, she was the staunchest supporter of the glorify Uchiha-sama movement, so to speak. Haddock-san is only teaching the demon anyways. It's not like that thing needs anything. Sarutobi narrowed his eyes, as did a few of the shinobi side of the council. Uchiha-sama needs the best we have to teach him, and that's Haddock-san. To hell with the demon brat, you're the Hokage. Just order him to teach the boy, and everything will be fine. You're correct, I am the Hokage, and my orders are to be followed. Hiruzen started, getting many of the civilians to smile. So I order you to never refer to young Naruto-kun as a demon again, or I'll have you removed from the council. He ordered, causing those who smiled to change to scowls. Ever since the incident, Naruto-kun has latched onto the only stable figure in his life, his sensei Kakashi. If I removed him from his life, there's no telling the effect it could have on the boy. As a Jinchuriki, his mental and emotional well-being is just as important as his physical. I will not be removing Naruto-kun from Kakashi's tutelage. If I may, Hokage-sama. Yamanaka Inoichi asked. Head of the Yamanaka clan and one of the top interrogators and psychiatrists in Konoha, also the proud father of Yamanaka Ino. At the old man's nod, Inoichi continued. I saw Naruto after the incident and I've been checking up on him on a bi-monthly basis since. I can honestly say that removing Kakashi from his life would break what he has left. No matter what else is decided here, that is something that must not be done. Naruto already lost control to the QB from a loss once, removing Kakashi would likely cause it to happen again. This got many council members to pale, while some were still scowling at how nobody would give Sasuke to Kakashi to teach. However, Inoichi continued, they provide a valid point about Kakashi being the only one who could teach Sasuke about the Sharingan. What I suggest is a compromise, talk to Kakashi and convince him to take on another 2 students to have a full team again. He'll stay with Naruto like they both want and then place Sasuke under his care as well to placate the other council members. Hiruzen sighed. He knew he could do that and was hoping nobody would suggest it simply because he had no argument against why not. He honestly couldn't see any reason outside of Kakashi's reluctance to teach a full team again. But as a Kage and as ninja, he had to give out orders that weren't liked by either yet still had to be followed. Many of the civilian council were seeing this as the only way to get Kakashi to teach Sasuke since they couldn't take him away from Naruto without risk. And then Inoichi spoke another reason, and Sarutobi lost his only hope for arguing against it. I also think it would benefit Naruto himself. He's been cold and distant to everyone outside of Kakashi since, and he needs to make some friends his own age. This would easily be for the best, since Sasuke has the same problem making friends he does, the two would hopefully be able to connect and perhaps help each other. Personally, I find this to be the best option. Place Sasuke and another graduate with Naruto under Kakashi, it would be best for everyone. Uchiha Sasuke was happy, or rather as close to happy he's been since the massacre. He had just graduated from the Ninja Academy as the Rookie of the Year, the top student in his age group. In fact, the teachers were even saying he was one of the best ever. But how could he not be? He was in Uchiha, they were always the best, the elite. And now with his graduation into the ninja ranks of Konohagakure no Sado, he was ready to begin his life's mission of killing the man that ruined his life. His elder brother Uchiha Itachi. So as Sasuke sat in his seat near the window plotting his vengeance, he was also patiently waiting for their sensei to arrive and tell them what was going to happen next. Sasuke wore his ever so common outfit of a blue shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back and white shorts. Simple, bold, and it declared his clan's power to anybody smart enough to recognize the fan. He held his hands in front of his face, and his eyes seemed to be staring off into space, but that was normal. Any moment at the academy when he wasn't being taught the skills he needed, he would assume that pose and just plan out his future encounter against his brother. Different every time too, but that was mainly because he didn't know when or where he would encounter Itachi. One thing remained the same though in all of his vengeance scenes though, everyone ended with Itachi dead at his feet. Sasuke's inner plotting was disturbed as two girls ran in through the door and started arguing about who arrived first. One was blonde with blue, pupil-less eyes. Her hair was made up into a ponytail and she wore a purple two-piece outfit and then used a common ninja wraps to cover herself underneath the cloth. The other had bright pink hair and wore a red one-piece with white outlines and a white circle on the back. The two were butting heads as they argued and Sasuke held back a groan of annoyance. Yamanaka Ino and Haruno Sakura, his two biggest fangirls in the village. Contrary to the belief of the many boys of the academy, he was not gay. The reason he never gave his fangirls the time of day was simple and twofold. 1. He wasn't going to bother with a relationship until after he achieved his life's goal of killing his brother. And 2. When he finally would get into a relationship he wanted it to be with a strong kunoichi that wasn't afraid to tell him no or assert her own opinion. A useless yes man was just annoying and irritating. If any of these fangirls were to take their training seriously and weren't afraid of standing up to him, then he just may have taken one on a date just to see what it would be like. So far the only girl that didn't bow down at his feet was the class Hyuga, Hinata. But she never showed interest in anybody and she, well better than most girls, wasn't very strong. So Sasuke just ignored her, like everyone in class seemed to do since she never drew attention to herself. Sasuke's thoughts were again disrupted as Ino and Sakura fought over the chair next to him. This was one of the few times Sasuke regretted focusing so intently on his training. He had no friends so he couldn't have one sit next to him to avoid the daily battle the two fangirls had. Still though, he dealt with it. Friends would just slow him down, and the annoying battles, if anything, gave him experience in developing a good poker face. Eventually Sakura claimed the chair and started to try and ask him on a date or get him to talk period. Sasuke stayed silent as he once more delved into his mind to plot against his brother. "Good morning class." A voice called out. Everyone turned their attention to the man that entered, Yumi no Iruka. He wore the standard Chunin outfit of blue long-sleeved shirt with blue shinobi pants and a green flak jacket. Covering his forehead was the headband of the village ninja, and across his nose was a long horizontal scar nobody knew where he got. "Today you are all genin of the village. You are now ninja of Konoha and will now go out to start your careers. No matter what happens, know that I am proud to have taught each and every one of you. From today onwards, we will be comrades, not just sensei and student." He spoke with conviction and confidence that had many of the students smiling at his words. Iruka cleared his throat before grabbing a clipboard from his desk. "Now, you will all be split into groups of 3 and place under a Jonin sensei who will further your education, along with leading you on missions for the village and the Hokage. Take care of each other and follow your teacher's orders, and I can promise you that you'll go far." Sasuke held back another groan. He was being placed on a team, but others would just slow him down. Even the second and third students in the academy were too slow to keep up with him. Sasuke tuned out Iruka's voice, only paying enough attention to recognize his own name. If he was going to be paired with a couple losers, then he was hoping he'd at least get the two best. It was his only hope. Team 7 will be Inyazuka Kiba, Aburam Shino, and Hyuga Hinata. Your Jonin sensei will be Uhi Kurenai. Team 8 is Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino. Your sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. And that's every team. Iruka concluded as he set the clipboard down. But a couple were confused, they paid attention and noticed there were two leftover students. Sakura, being one of them, raised his hand to ask what was going on. Sensei. What about me and Sasuke-kun? You didn't assign us a team. She pointed out and now the students that weren't paying attention noticed and were. Haruka's eyes went wide before he gave a small embarrassed grin. Sorry, I forgot to mention it. You see, there weren't enough graduating students this year, so you two are instead being paired with a student who recently lost his teammates. Lost them? What do you mean? Sakura asked. And who are we being placed with? I mean he's no longer on a team with them. They might have died on a mission. Or perhaps it's simply that they were promoted and he wasn't. There can be many reasons why someone loses their teammates, but it's usually nothing to worry about. As for who, he'll be coming here with his sensei to pick you up. Haruka explained. Sakura looked satisfied and was happy that she was going to be with her Sasuke-kun. Sasuke on the other hand was torn between cursing and praising his luck. Cursing it because he was with Sakura and another person. Praising it because said mystery member has been a ninja for at least a year, meaning he had to have experience and could handle himself. So he knew at least one person on the team would be able to handle themselves. Haruka congratulated them once more and then left telling them they had an hour to themselves before they had to be back to be picked up by their senseis. Most of the students simply went to lunch with their new teammates, while Sasuke just left without a word to contemplate his new situation, while Sakura tried to ask him to lunch, but was ignored. An hour later and all the students were back and sitting next to their team chatting about one thing or another. Sasuke was once more in his seat and common pose with Sakura sitting next to him looking slightly down that she didn't get to eat with her crush. Then shortly after Jonin began coming in one by one and picking up their teams. Pretty soon only teams 7 and 8 plus Sasuke and Sakura were left. The door opened again and they turned their head to see who it was. Imagine their surprise when it was a boy their age. He was wearing a dark blue t-shirt underneath a black jacket with a red swirl on the back. His right hand had on a fingerless black glove, while his left had a small silver gauntlet that covered his hand and arm up to the elbow. He was wearing the standard shinobi pants colored black and dark blue ninja sandals. Tied to his right leg was a kunai pouch, while his headband was tied to his head by a dark red cloth with long straps that went down his back. But the most identifying features on him were easily his face and hair. 3 long whisker marks on each cheek and spiky yellow hair. And then there were his eyes. They were a deep bright blue, but if you looked close enough you could tell there was anger and sorrow behind the seemingly bright and happy look they gave off. As everyone stared at them his eyes swept over the class. Sasuke noticed that he wasn't just doing it to see who was there. He had experience, his guard was relaxed but not down. His eyes while looking at the students were also scanning the room for anything of interest. The way he stood showed he was ready to snap into position at the slightest hesitation. This kid was a warrior, a true ninja. Sasuke was barely keeping the smirk off his face, hoping this was to be his new teammate. The ninja's eyes seemed to rest on Kiba for a moment longer than everyone else before he turned to the rest of the genin. Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura, follow me. He called out before turning and leaving without a word. Sasuke finally let his smirk through before getting up and walking out with Sakura following quickly. They left and followed the boy out of the academy and to one of the many training grounds Konoha had for their ninja. He stopped at one that had 3 logs standing at its center, a small stream running through to their left, and a large tree all in the middle of a clearing surrounded by trees. The ninja turned around and looked them over closely, quite aware of the fact they were doing the same to him. After a few minutes of silent staring Sakura couldn't take it anymore and spoke. So who are you? And who's our sensei? She asked. Sasuke and the boy broke the slight staring contest they seemed to have fallen into before looking at her. The boy took a deep breath and then walked over to one of the logs before sitting on it. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and my sensei is Hada Kakashi. He said with a cold voice. Sakura seemed confused, but Sasuke scowled. What the hell's your problem? My problem, Uchiha, is that I never wanted new teammates. Sensei and I were fine on our own, but the council was throwing a fit to get him to teach you. The only compromise Hokage-sama could do was to place you on my team. They wanted to just drop me and have him exclusively teach you. Naruto spat out with a glare at Sasuke. The boy just smirked in response. So? I'm an Uchiha, we always get the best. Sakura started frowning over how cool Sasuke was, but Naruto just grit his teeth. Shut the hell up. He shouted at her. She looked shocked that he would instantly yell at her, but before she could respond his attention was back on Sasuke. Listen here Uchiha, I don't give a shit about how great your clan was. You're the last one in Konoha, and as such the council is just kissing your ass in the hopes you won't go nuts and leave like Itachi did. And besides, out on the battlefield, a name means shit. You could be named Kami-sama herself, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the skills to back it up. So don't walk around thinking you're top dog because I can guarantee you that I can kick your ass so fast you wouldn't even notice it's been kicked. And I was the dope of my class 3 years ago. HN, like I'd ever lose to a dope. Sasuke grunted out with a smirk still in place. Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Wanna bet?" Sasuke just scoffed. "Bring it do." Sasuke never finished as he was on the ground with a kunai to his throat and a very painful red mark on his left cheek as Naruto was kneeling over him staring right at him. "Ed. And you never saw me coming. Your name means nothing to me or anybody else that has any actual skill. Until you can back it up, keep that ego of yours in check. Or I will." Naruto spoke clearly as the entire field seemed quiet and for the first time since his brother's psychotic massacre of his clan, Sasuke felt fear. The cold metal of the kunai was pressed right up against his Adam's apple. Naruto was staring down at him with a look of hate and indifference. And it was true what he said, Sasuke never saw him coming. In fact he hadn't even seen him twitch. "You can't do that to Sasuke-kun. Let him." Sakura started before going silent as a kunai was pressed up against her neck from behind. Sasuke and Sakura looked to see another Naruto holding the weapon at her throat with the same look as the other one. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique, my most used jutsu and my most basic. Unlike the parlor trick clones taught at the academy, mine are real. And when they dispel, I gain their memories and any leftover chakra they had." Naruto explained before withdrawing the weapons and stepping back. The Naruto behind Sakura disappeared in a puff of smoke while Sasuke slowly got up and glared at Naruto. Sakura wanted to glare at him but was too busy trying to calm her heart rate down first. "I don't care if you were the dope or the rookie of the year, you're fresh out of the academy and that means you suck. The council may have forced you on sensei and me, but that doesn't mean I have to put up with any of your shit. Keep your ego in check. And Haruno, drop the fangirl act or I will slit your throat. You are a disgrace to Kunoichi everywhere if you think that shit will fly on a real mission. You'll only get yourself and others killed." Naruto ordered before sitting back down on the log. Sasuke grit his teeth as he glared at Naruto and Sakura took a few deep breaths before looking around. Where's sensei? I just noticed he wasn't here." Naruto rolled his eyes as now Sasuke looked at her in disbelief. "You had best start training harder, Haruno, if you only just now noticed he's not here," Naruto said. She glared at him, but a cold glance back had her avert her gaze. "Kakashi-sensei is late to anything and everything that's not an ARS ranked mission. So anytime he says to meet somewhere, feel free to show up an hour or two later than the time he picks." They both stared at him like he was joking and he just sighed. "No, I am not kidding. Me and my team thought it was stupid first too and we'd show up on time just to see if he would one day to catch us off guard, but he doesn't. I'm dead serious, bearing A and S ranked missions he will always be somewhere around 2 or 3 hours late. The only reason he's allowed to get away with it is because he's one of the top jonin in the village, easily at the top of the very small list of potential Hokages should the Sandaime retire again," Naruto explained. Both Sasuke and Sakura looked at him and then each other before looking back at him to find him looking up at the sky. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Sasuke demanded. When Naruto turned his face down and glared at him he flinched but didn't look away. "I think I'm annoyed. And I know I'm your better." Sasuke growled and Naruto scoffed. "Want to hear a trick? I can tell what the two of you are thinking." This got Sakura to look at him in confusion while Sasuke kept up his glare. Naruto just slightly smirked and started. "You, Uchiha, are thinking about how dare I not automatically respect you for your clan. About how angry you are at how easily I subdued you. And about how the girl next to you is going to hold you back since it's obvious I won't." That got Sasuke to look shocked as he seemed to be exactly right. Sakura glanced over at Sasuke but turned her attention back to Naruto when he started on her. "You, Haruno, are a little harder to read, but that's because there's so much going through your mind right now. Mainly though it seems to be shock, anger, fear, and a small amount of sadness and disappointment. You're shocked and fearful of my skills and what the Uchiha seems to think of you. You're angry at me for harming said Uchiha and for shouting at you. And you're sad and disappointed that the Uchiha seems to think so little of you," Naruto said. Sakura hung her head as he accurately read her mind. Suddenly there was a swirl of leaves in front of Naruto and the other two new ninja looked to see a jonin with gravity-defying spiky gray hair and his headband tilted to cover one of his eyes. He also wore a cloth that covered his face from his nose down, effectively making it so only one eye was seen on his entire face. "Hey Naruto, do you know where the new students are? I went to the academy to pick them up but all the students were gone," he asked, completely oblivious to the two others staring at him in shock. Naruto just shook his head at the man and pointed behind him. "Oh, you went and picked them up already. Well that saves time. You're always late and I didn't feel like waiting for 3 hours for you, so I lied about the time to you and grabbed them early. Hey Naruto, they look a little scared or angry at you for some reason. Mind explaining?" Kakashi asked as he looked closely at Sakura and Sasuke, completely ignoring Naruto manipulating him slightly and going behind his back. Said blonde just grinned. I pulled the mind trick. Kakashi laughed and rubbed the back of his head. Naruto, that's not very nice to do to your new teammates. Just cause she taught you to read a person just from their face doesn't mean you should freak people out and make them think you're Yamanaka now. He said as Naruto chuckled slightly. You know, I wonder if she'd be happy you learned to do that so well or angry that you're copying her favorite prank. Kakashi wondered out loud. Naruto just smiled sadly and looked back up at the sky. Don't know. I wonder about that myself. He answered. Kakashi just looked at him for a few moments before sighing and turning back to the other two. By now they seemed to have gotten over the shock of him appearing out of nowhere. And slightly over their anger at the blonde in Sakura's case and fear in Sasuke's. So seeing all that, Kakashi decided to start talking and introduce himself. Alright, well let's get started then. My name is Hada Kakashi and from today on I'm going to be your Jonin sensei. Why don't we learn a bit more about each other now? Why don't you tell your likes, dislikes, as well as any hobbies you have and your dreams for the future? He spoke, then Naruto flicked a small pebble at the back of his head without looking. Kakashi turned to him and mock glared as the blonde just smirked. You're doing it again sensei. Kakashi sighed. Right. I'll start. I like dogs and reading my books. A dislike of mine is people who don't like my books. As for hobbies, I mostly just spend my free time reading or spending time with Naruto here. And I don't feel like telling you my dreams for the future. Kakashi said. Naruto sighed and faced him after a small glance at Kakashi. At least it's better than the first time you did that. He muttered before clearing his throat. I like ramen and relaxing atop the Hokage monument looking over the village. I dislike the ignorant and hateful, the time it takes to cook ramen, as well as the entire village of Iwagakure. This got a couple raised eyebrows, but he continued without a care. My hobbies are gardening and training, and my dream is to become the Hokage so that I can protect the village. Sakura and Sasuke looked them over, taking in the information before Sasuke decided he might as well talk. I don't really have anything I can claim to like and I don't like far too many things to name. If I had to name something as a hobby, it would be that I spend my free time training. And I don't really have a dream for the future cause I know it's going to happen because I will make it happen. I'm going to rebuild my clan after I kill a certain person. Sasuke said, clenching his fists and looking down towards the end of his little show and tell. Sakura looked at him with a blush thinking he was so cool and other such fangirl related subjects as Kakashi seemed impassive and Naruto just scowled at the attitude he had. They all then turned their attention to Sakura and she seemed to realize they were no waiting on her. I mean the person I like is she muttered as she snuck a glance at Sasuke, though they all saw it. My hobbies are again another glance towards the Uchiha. My dreams a third glance and by this time they all were getting annoyed at her behavior. Dislikes? Kakashi asked when she seemed to get lost in her dream world of Sasuke. This girl named Ino and people who make fun of me. She responded. Kakashi just nodded his head and started speaking. Okay, you two. Before we can go on missions or anything else, I need to know what you can do. So there's going to be a little spar first. Naruto. Kakashi gestured as the blonde stood up from the log and walked over to the side. Now, fight him with everything you've got. We need to see what you have so I know what to train you both in. Sensei. Who should he fight first? Sakura asked. This got Naruto to laugh. Oh no, he didn't mean one-on-one. Both of you, same time, right now. Bring it. Okay, you two. Before we can go on missions or anything else, I need to know what you can do. So there's going to be a little spar first. Naruto. Kakashi gestured as the blonde stood up from the log and walked over to the side. Now, fight him with everything you've got. We need to see what you have so I know what to train you both in. Sensei. Who should he fight first? Sakura asked. This got Naruto to laugh. Oh no, he didn't mean one-on-one. Both of you, same time, right now. Bring it. The blonde declared as he got into a ready stance. Sasuke smirked thinking he could get some payback early while Sakura still looked unsure. But we might really hurt you. Her response got both Naruto and Kakashi to laugh. Kakashi got his under control as Naruto was still trying to make sure he wouldn't fall over. Naruto will be fine Sakura. This is going on his third year as a genin now. And he's very powerful. Trust me, if you actually hurt him I'll pay you. Even I have to be careful around him. Kakashi said. Sasuke now looked more determined than ever to fight and got ready as Sakura still looked worried but got into a loose stance. Now remember you two, don't hold anything back. If you have a trick you think can work, use it. If you have any jutsu outside the Academy 3, use them. Naruto will stick to a defensive style only so that you two can show off all of your skills. But you should still be careful and try to take him down quickly because after a while I'll tell him to switch to offense to see how you both handle defense. Now are you all ready? The silver-haired man asked as he looked over the three children. Two looked determined while one was still unsure but willing to try. Alright then. Hajime. Instantly Sasuke rushed forward and threw out a right hook towards Naruto's face. The blonde ninja caught the fist in his left before using his other hand to grab Sasuke by the collar and flipping him over his shoulder and slamming him into the ground. Naruto then leapt back a couple feet and kept his eyes peeled for any tricks he might have done while simultaneously keeping Sakura in sight. Sadly, the pink-haired girl didn't even try to attack him or anything of the sort. Rather, she ran over to Sasuke yelling Sasuke-kun at the top of her lungs and helping the Uchiha stand. Naruto rolled his eyes while Sasuke just roughly shrugged her off and stood on his own. He then pulled out a kunai and held it in reverse grip as he charged again. Sakura by now realized that she actually needed to do something and started to think of what she actually could do. She didn't have anything special outside of the Academy 3 and she knew it. She was from a civilian family, meaning they couldn't teach her anything that could help her with her career choice. As she watched Sasuke rush forward and begin slashing at Naruto while also punching and kicking to attack, she saw that the whiskered boy would effortlessly dodge the punches and kicks and use the silver gauntlet on his left arm to block any kunai slashes that got too close. Sasuke-kun can't get him if Naruto's focused just on him. I need to draw his attention somehow. Stand still. Sasuke shouted angrily as Naruto blocked a punch and held back the kunai with his armored hand. Naruto just rolled his eyes at the Uchiha, getting him even angrier at him. Who the hell is this bastard? He's barely even trying to hold me back. And Sakura is still as useless as ever. I need an opening. As if to answer Sasuke's silent prayers and to prove him wrong, Sakura suddenly threw out a handful of shuriken at Naruto, getting him to jump back. She then threw more at him to keep him occupied. The blonde just whipped out a kunai and started deflecting the weaponry with precision, knocking each metal star into the ground instantly. As Sakura did, Sasuke smirked thinking this was his chance to prove his superiority. He took a deep breath as he ran through the need seals and gathered the required chakra. Kaiten. Kakakyu no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique. Naruto turned his attention to Sasuke as he launched a fireball at him. Naruto smirked and channeled chakra into his gauntlet before holding his hand out and slamming it into the oncoming fire. Naruto was pushed back a little before he channeled chakra to his feet. With a loud yell he shoved his hand further and the fireball seemed to break and fall apart. Naruto looked at the shocked faces of his opponents and smirked. Please tell me you can do better than that. Sasuke just stood mouth agape at how Naruto easily disabled his best juts while Sakura was staring at him like he wasn't human. Alright Naruto, I think that's enough testing their offense. Why don't you test their defense now? Kakashi called out. Gladly. Naruto seemed to vanish before appearing before Sasuke and throwing out a punch. It was quite obvious to both of the new ninjas that he was holding back. After all, last time they didn't even see him. Sasuke did his best to move out of the way and barely managed it before Naruto kneed him in the gut. He then quickly hit Sasuke with an uppercut before vanishing and appearing by Sakura. She barely had time to turn and face him before his fist buried itself in her face and sent her flying back. She was knocked unconscious and Sasuke was breathing heavily as he tried to just sit up from where he landed on the ground. Kakashi shook his head. Naruto, we needed to see what they could do. You were supposed to hold back. I did sensei and you know I did. They're just too weak. Naruto countered. Kakashi sighed and helped Sasuke up and leaned him against one of the three logs before he sat Sakura against one. So now what? The only thing I can say was worthwhile was the Uchiha knowing a Kaiten jutsu. And even that was pathetic, he used a C-rank jutsu like an amateur. That was hardly better than a D-rank attack. Sasuke glared at him and Kakashi sighed again. Naruto, they don't have any experience yet. You can't expect them to match you right off the bat. I'm not. I'm expecting them to match what we were like when we first started 3 years ago. And they can't even do that. Naruto shouted. Kakashi turned towards him as he looked the blonde over. They are the same as Sakura or Koji, so it's obvious they won't have the same skills. Kakashi said. Naruto just grit his teeth and was about to retort, but Kakashi kept talking. Just because you don't want to have a team again doesn't mean I can or will just get rid of them. Hokage-sama placed them under my tutelage, just like you. You need to move on, Naruto. They wouldn't want to see you acting like this. Naruto flinched before glaring at the man. Just like you and Obito or Rin, right? He bit back darkly before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi sighed but let him leave. Naruto had every right to bite back like he did, just like Kakashi knew he had no right to be lecturing him about moving on when he barely could himself. Sasuke was looking between Kakashi and where the blonde was with a confused expression as Sakura started to stir. Oh, what happened? She grumbled before looking around and seeing Sasuke and Kakashi. She noticed Naruto was gone and while slightly curious about him, she was more relieved he wasn't there to mock or belittle them anymore. She rubbed her cheek where Naruto had hit her as Kakashi knelt down in front of the two. Naruto beat you both quite easily, and he also defended against the two of you just as easily. To be honest, I read your files and already knew everything you could do. The real reason I had the two of you fight him was to see if you would work together, which you did. Slightly. That's just something we'll have to work on in time. Sakura, you were quoted as having a high intelligence and near perfect chakra control. But on the other hand, your physical skills are lacking and your reserves aren't that big. Sasuke, the teacher said you have above average stamina and reserves, as well as a good grasp on tactics, well you would seem to soak up any and all jutsu related lessons. The downsides they gave for you were your lack of care for your fellow classmates and your control needed just a small bit of fine tuning. Again, these are things we'll work on together. Kakashi said as the two seemed to take in what he said. He then gave them a small smile, though the only indication was his eye seemed to turn into an upside down U. From now on, meet at this field every day at 8 o'clock in the morning for missions, training, or whatever we seem to be doing that day. And welcome to the team. Kakashi then stood and was about to leave when Sasuke spoke. What is he? Kakashi looked down at him for him to elaborate, so Sasuke continued. Naruto, what is he? He made everything seem so simple. He stopped my best jutsu with one hand. Ah, well, the gauntlet may have had something to do with that. Kakashi said as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. But he is strong. He's been at this for just under 3 years and is the first genin Konoha has ever gotten into the bingo book. They both looked up in shock as they weren't expecting that. The bingo book was for powerful shinobi or missing nin. To be placed in it as a genin, you had to be dangerous. He's known as the Kurai Kitsune no Konoha. Konoha's Dark Fox. Naruto was on top of the Yondame's head at the Hokage monument looking over the village. He was sitting down with his left leg straight and his right pulled up, resting his chin on his knee. His eyes didn't seem to focus on anything, he was just staring out into space. Damn Kakashi, bringing them up. Damn Hokage Jiji putting others with us. We don't need anybody, we're the top duo not in Anbu doing S ranks. I'm a fucking B rank threat on my own. And Kakashi is S rank with an approach with caution order for any non-S rank ninja himself. What the hell do we need two newbies for? Why couldn't Jiji grow a fucking backbone and tell the council off? He's the fucking Hokage. And yet he cowers to a bunch of pencil pushers. When I'm Hokage, I'll pull the plug on the damn council. Give me a few smart ninja that'll help out when they're needed and let the civilians deal with just following orders. This is a shinobi village, not some hick town where they can expect to run everything. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted as he sensed someone coming up behind him. He spun his head around to see who it was before turning back and staring out over the village again. You know you can't just run here every time something bothers you, Naruto. You shouldn't be talking considering you run to the Hero Stone every morning, sensei. Naruto shot back as Kakashi sighed and sat down next to him. Naruto didn't face him or anything considering this was actually a pretty common occurrence. Naruto, whenever he was bothered or had something on his mind, would always be found either pigging out on his favorite food or on top of his father's head. Kakashi could be found every morning at the Hero Stone for at least 3 or 4 hours just staring at it. It was a habit they both tried to avoid bringing up, but if they argued, then they usually snapped at each other about them. You know I'm right though. Yes, I shouldn't be lecturing you about this, but you know I'm right. Kakashi offered as he just sat overlooking the village with his student. Naruto just placed his forehead on his knee. That doesn't make it hurt any less, sensei. You can't move past yours, and I don't want to move past mine. These two, I get the Uchiha and I could deal if he didn't have that holier-than-thou attitude. And Haruno, fangirl. Enough said. Kakashi let out a light chuckle at that. But it's that the council forced them on us. You weren't even given a choice, and I was forced to go along with it by association. Naruto grit his teeth slightly before sighing and closing his eyes. But there's nothing we can do about it now. We're stuck with them and that's final. The two sat in silence for a bit before Kakashi spoke, surprising Naruto with what was said. It wasn't forced, you know. Huh? The team, Sasuke and Sakura. It wasn't forced on us. Hokage-sama asked me if I wanted to take a couple students to make a full squad and then explain the pros and cons of it all before asking for my decision. Naruto turned to face him as Kakashi kept talking. After hearing the reasons, not just of him but all of the council, civilian and shinobi both, I decided to do it. The only real thing that was forced was that if I agreed, Sasuke had to be one of the two I would take. Then Hokage-sama gave me the files of all the other graduates and told me to take my pick of any of them to finish things off. I chose Sakura because with her intelligence and chakra control, I think I can get the village another genjutsu user or medic. You're a frontline fighter, strong, fast, powerful offensive jutsu, and then QB as backup when you truly need it. Like almost all Uchiha, Sasuke has the potential to become a powerful threat on the battlefield that can be balanced in most subjects and devastating in ninjutsu. Mix the three of you together and you get a quick response team that can work comfortably in all but stealth, tracking, or interrogation missions. The three of you can become the next generation of Sannin if you train hard enough. Just give them a chance, Naruto. They may not like you now, but give them time and they will." As Kakashi finished, he gave Naruto a smile before standing up and vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto stared at the spot before turning back to look over the village. "It still doesn't change the fact that I don't want new teammates. How is he so strong? Is it really just experience? And what did he do to stop my jutsu? Even Itachi would have dodged or parried with one of his own." Sasuke was scowling as he ran through the day in his mind over and over again. On one hand, he was glad. He had one of the best Jonin Konoha could offer as a sensei. Under his tutelage, Sasuke knew he could gain the strength he needed to kill his brother. He was teamed with a very powerful threat. Getting into the bingo book was no joke. Even Itachi in all his Anbu strength didn't make it into the book until after he massacred his clan. For a genin boy to make it in earlier than his brother, that took strength. Sasuke knew that when push comes to shove, Naruto would be able to handle himself and wouldn't drag the team down in the slightest. And then the cons flashed through his head. First off, his sensei's constant tardiness. If his new teammate was to be believed, then the man was obviously lazy to a degree that Inara could relate to. If he started spouting something along the lines of troublesome, he'd ask him if he was related to the shadow wielders. Then there was Naruto. The boy didn't respect him or his clan and seemed to just outright hate him and Sakura, though he wasn't entirely sure on that last part. Extreme dislike for sure though. The boy looked down on him as if Sasuke wasn't worth the dirt under his feet, and he didn't like that. He was in Uchiha. They were the elite of Konoha and nobody looked down on them. But it mattered little. Once he got stronger, he'd show that commoner his place underneath him. And finally there was Sakura. Of all the people he could have been teamed with, it had to be a fangirl. No, it had to be the biggest fangirl. All he knew was that if she didn't start training seriously and drop the constant screeching for him, Sasuke would look the other way when Naruto made good on his threat to kill her. She was useless, with Kakashi pointing out her only good points, chakra control and being a walking dictionary. To control meant nothing without the other skills and jutsu to use it for. And you could be as smart as you wanted, again it was useless without the skills. And her attitude and voice being annoying as all hell was not making him like her like she wanted. Rather, it was doing quite the opposite. Sasuke let out a sigh as he thought about his team. Might as well get used to them. I'll show up a commoner eventually and Sakura will either shape up or get left behind. But it doesn't matter either way, so long as she doesn't slow me down. Killing Itachi is all that matters. Sasuke thought as he walked into his clan compound. His eyes glanced over the empty streets and buildings as a few images of that night flashed through his mind. Soon Itachi. Soon I'll be strong enough to avenge them. Soon you will be dead. I'm home. Sakura called out as she took off her sandals and entered the house. She heard her mother reply from the kitchen and went over there before sitting down at the table and giving a small smile. "So how did things go today?" Masaki asked. She already knew what team she was on due to the council meeting, but she wanted to hear her daughter's perspective before she said anything herself. Sakura sighed but then smiled a bit more. "It was alright. I got placed with Sasuke-kun and then we were put with some kid who's been a genin for a couple years already and his sensei. According to the kid, our sensei is really strong but kind of lazy, while the kid himself is strong but a jerk. He actually hurt Sasuke-kun and me in the spar and acted like Sasuke-kun was worthless. I would have told him off, but he kinda scared me." Sakura admitted with a small shudder as she thought about the cold look and words Naruto had sent towards her. Masaki scowled at the thought of Naruto hurting her daughter and the Uchiha. "Sakura, that D-boy," she spat out remembering the Hokage's order, "is dangerous. I know who he is, like a lot of the village does, so trust me when I say this. Stay away from him as much as you can get away with. He won't hesitate to harm you or Uchiha-sama if he wants to. Just listen to your sensei and stay out of that boy's way. He's nothing but trouble," she ordered before giving her daughter a hug and then returning to making dinner. "Besides, you were placed with Uchiha-sama. You need to try extra hard to get his affections now." Sakura sighed at that. "That's gonna be hard, mom." When her mother questioned why, Sakura started to explain. "Our other teammate, Naruto, he did this trick where he could tell what we were thinking by reading our faces. When he read Sasuke-kun, he said that he thinks I'm weak and will only hold him back. Sasuke-kun confirmed it when he looked shocked at how accurate Naruto was. And then he read me like an open book right after." Sakura looked depressed and Masaki was wanting to kill the demon more and more with each passing second, but then sighed. "Well, if Uchiha-sama thinks you're weak, then you'll just have to train and get strong enough to impress him." Sakura looked up as her mother kept cooking. "I think it's time for a different approach. You've been trying to earn his affections through praise and looks for a few years now and it hasn't worked. So why not try through your actions? Show him you're strong enough for him, show him that you won't get in the way but will be a major help to him. Then he'll have to take notice of you. It'll also get that boy to shut up." Sakura thought it over before shrugging her shoulders. I guess it's worth a shot. So how did he take to them? A little worse than expected. He shows just short of open hatred and hostility towards them. During a small spar I asked him to test his teammates' defensive skills and he knocked Sakura out in a single hard punch to her jaw and slammed Sasuke down with more force than necessary. Then when I tried to get him to calm down from it, he snaps at me. Afterwards I spoke with him in private atop his father's head and he pretty much flat out told me he doesn't want to move past his old team. Kakashi explained. He was alone with Sarutobi in his office and they were speaking about how Naruto and his new team interacted. Naruto was also under the impression that this was forced and that I didn't have a choice. After I explained otherwise he said he could handle Sasuke if not for his attitude and in his own words, Haruno. Fangirl, enough said. If she doesn't shape up quick then he might be overly aggressive towards her. Especially since he finds fangirls to be disgraces to Kunoichi and because Sakuya hated them herself. As he finished Sarutobi's side and took a small drag from his pipe. Do you think he can work with them? Or is his animosity going to disrupt things? Oh, Naruto knows how to put aside personal issues on a mission. I'd be more worried of him accidentally killing them in a spar. Especially if they don't improve their attitudes to his expectations soon. Kakashi spoke with clear utter confidence that he was sure Naruto may actually do such. Which was really not a good thing. Keep an eye on him and try to make them get along with each other. I know it'll be hard, but you were right when you said they have the potential to become the next Sannin. All that's going to hold them back is their teamwork. Give me weekly reports and that will be all. After a high Hokage-sama. Kakashi vanished and Sarutobi looked back at the picture of the yondaime. Oh Minato, if only you could see what's happened to your son. You'd be so proud and disappointed in him and angry with me for allowing it all to happen. You graduate. An 8-year-old, soon to be 9, Naruto was smiling as he stood in front of his sensei Iruka. He wore a large orange jumpsuit with bits of blue on it and a red swirl on the back. Iruka gave a small sigh as he smiled at the child in front of him. Naruto was trying to graduate early, which was normal for a lot of kids actually. The academy allowed anybody from the age of 5 to 9 to enroll for a 4-year course. Once you received a parent or guardian's permission, you were cleared to attempt the graduation exam early. Had Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi both gaining parental permission and finishing before the 4 years were up, being the primary examples of the practice. Orphans however, didn't need parental permission since they didn't have anybody to look after them. But to make sure they didn't just try to graduate as soon as they got into the building, orphans were required to go to the academy at least 2 years. Naruto had just finished his 2nd year and wanted to try and graduate now rather than come back for a 3rd and possibly 4th year. Anybody who wanted to try and graduate early had to come on the day after the normal graduating class took their tests. This way they wouldn't bother anybody and they could accurately add in any possible early ninja into the class roster and team setups. So what do I gotta do to pass Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked as he was having trouble keeping himself from bouncing in place. Iruka chuckled at his enthusiasm and set a sheet of paper in front of him. Naruto looked down and instantly frowned at the written test. First, you have to get a passable score on this test, Naruto. Then there are 2 more steps that I'll lead you through. So I'll give you an hour to do that and then we'll move on. So start. Iruka explained as Naruto grabbed a pencil and started writing. An hour later Iruka told him to stop and took the paper. He did a quick grading of it that took him only 10 minutes before saying that he scored just above the bare minimum allowed. Naruto smiled and Iruka then led him outside. Okay Naruto, now you'll have to run an obstacle course. Then after a small 2-minute break, you'll have to accurately throw the kunai and shuriken I provide to hit all the targets you can. And finally, a small spar against me where you have to either last a certain amount of time or actually defeat me. Okay. I'll blaze right through all of this. Naruto declared as he took his point at the starting line. Iruka picked up a stopwatch and waited a moment to check if Naruto was ready before shouting go. As the blonde ball of energy ran at top speed. Naruto ducked under the obstacles, swung over the pits and balanced as best he could while keeping his top speed. Finally he reached the finish and bent over with his hands on his knees. That course was hard. So how'd I do? Just under 4 minutes Naruto. Not bad, you need to make it fewer than 5 and you beat that by a whole minute. Some of the current grade 8s couldn't even do that. Iruka said, honestly impressed. He did better than the bottom half of kids 2 or 3 years older than him. Okay, not take a couple minutes before coming over here for the target test. Naruto just dropped down and took a few deep breaths before he got up and walked over to Iruka. The man handed him 10 shuriken and kunai and then pointed out the targets. You have a minute to get as many bullseyes as you can with the shuriken and then another minute to do the same with the kunai. Afterwards, I'll tally up your score and let you know if you pass this part. Naruto nodded his understanding and got ready with the bladed stars as Iruka took a couple steps back. At his signal Naruto started whipping the weaponry down the range hitting targets. A minute later Anaruka told him to stop and now use the kunai. The blonde obeyed and soon was throwing the knives just like he had with the stars. So did I pass this? Naruto asked as Iruka walked out and marked up the points Naruto earned in throwing weapons. Iruka came back with a very slight smile. You barely earned enough points Naruto. Had that last shuriken been off by another inch you would have failed this part of the test. Naruto looked down for a moment before he got a smirk on his face. But I passed it, so it doesn't really matter. Now was the spar right? At Iruka's nod he grinned even more. I'm not gonna go easy on you sensei. Iruka chuckled and led him to a small ring. He then explained the rules. Naruto had to stay in the ring for at least 3 minutes or knock Iruka down. Only taijutsu, no weapons or other tricks. Just pure hand-to-hand combat between himself and his sensei. Naruto nodded and then Iruka said Hajime. Naruto took off as fast as he could trying to knock Iruka flat on his face. The Chunin fought back and it was pretty easy to keep Naruto back, it was just more along impossible to keep Naruto down. The boy got back up from every hit, grinned and tried to knock his teacher down another way. 3 minutes later Anaruka called him to stop. He lasted the full time so he passed. Now there was only one more thing. Okay Naruto, this is the last test. Pa this and you're officially a graduate of the academy. Pausing for Naruto's shout of excitement, Iruka then continued. Perform the academy's 3 jutsu, henge, kawarimi, and the bunshin. Naruto nodded before making a seal and turning into an exact duplicate of the Hokage, pipe and all. Iruka passed it and said next. Naruto dispelled the transformation and then made another seal, this time vanishing with a log taking his place. He then walked up behind Iruka with a smile. Good job Naruto. Now make at least 3 bunshin and you graduate. Naruto nodded and started channeling chakra. This was it, the final thing he needed to pass and become a ninja. After channeling what he felt was the appropriate amount of chakra he released it to activate the jutsu. Bunshin no jutsu. Clone technique, there was a large puff of smoke and then standing in front of Iruka were 20 Narutos. Iruka looked slightly shocked and then looked at the real one as he had him dispel the rest. Naruto I said 3. Nua? You said at least 3. That's as few as I can make without them turning out dead and stuff. The boy shot back. Iruka went wide-eyed before realizing he was right. And he couldn't take it back or punish him for it since Naruto had followed his orders and made at least 3. He shook his head before smiling. Well then I guess all I can say is congratulations Naruto. You graduate. That night was easily one of the best Naruto ever had. Completely unaware of how much his graduating early would change the set course of actions. Is everybody in position? The voice asked over the headsets. Hi. A girl answered. Hi. A boy answered. Why the fuck am I stuck on D ranks again sensei? An annoyed voice answered. There was a loud sigh and they could almost swear he had just face-palmed himself. Because Sasuke and Sakura aren't ready for the higher levels yet. Now are you in position Naruto? Their sensei responded. A quick hi sensei was his response before the man looked up at the sky. Alright then. Go. There was some rustling of the bushes and trees before a small blur ran out and tried to escape a young boy wearing blue and white. Just before it got far it had to quickly change directions as a girl with pink hair shot out to grab it. It kept running, hoping to escape its pursuers when a kunai swung around it and caught its legs in some string. The string tightened and suddenly it found its legs tied up. The pink-haired girl sighed and picked the animal up, revealing it to be a small cat with a ribbon in its ear. Can you confirm the ribbon? Sensei, I fucking chazzed this cat down at least 50 times with my old team. I think I'd recognize the damn thing after getting my face clawed off so much. A blonde boy shouted as the girl started petting it and calming it down. The other boy sighed but answered the question. Hi sensei. Good, then missing cat Tora, captured. Oh thank you for catching my little darling. A large woman shouted as she hugged the captured cat, damn near close to death. Is it any wonder why it ran away? She paid the Hokage before leaving which left Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto and Kakashi standing before Iruka, said Hokage, and another Chunin. Well done team. Now if you would like another mission we have helping the Inyazuka clean out their kennels or painting the fence down on old Jiro's new house. Saratobi offered as Kakashi closed his book. Naruto was scowling with his arms crossed due to being forced into D ranks once more. For the past year Kakashi and Naruto had been doing nothing but C ranks on their own or B and the occasional A rank with other teams. Getting dragged back into the shinobi hell of menial labor pissed him off. Sasuke was also scowling due to the D ranks. He felt he was better than common chores or civilian work. Plus his Uchiha pride was telling him these missions were insulting to someone of his stature. That and he wanted something challenging. Surprisingly Sakura was perfectly fine with D ranks. They weren't dangerous and she got to spend time with Sasuke, a win-win in her pink-haired head. Actually Hokage-sama, do you have an easy C rank we could do? Kakashi asked. Naruto grinned, hoping to finally get back to better things. Sasuke smirked, thinking he'd be able to prove his skills better. And Sakura seemed impassive. Kakashi said an easy one, so she felt she'd still be safe. Iruka looked over Sasuke and Sakura and seeing their attitudes about his request, chose not to say anything. Sasuke was a fast learner and Sakura was the smartest girl of their class. So if Kakashi felt they were ready then he'd let it go. Besides, he knew Naruto's strength so if anything went wrong he and Kakashi could handle it. The Hokage, having come to similar conclusions, looked down at the list of available C ranks. Ah, here's one for you. You are to escort a man to his home in Nami no Kuni and protect him as he finishes his project. Send in the client. Sarutobi called out. The door opened and a man wearing mostly brown and tan clothes walked in. He had a bottle of sake in his hand and a blush on his face, showing he was clearly drunk. He looked over the team before taking a swig of his sake. This is it. A group of little brats to protect me. They don't look like much, especially the blonde one. He muttered before taking another drink. Or trying. He looked down to see there wasn't a bottle in his hands anymore. He looked at the team to see Naruto holding his bottle with a smirk on his face. He took a swig before tossing the bottle back. Not bad sake Jai-san. Got any more? The old man looked between where he was and the blonde before smirking. Sasuke and Sakura were staring at Naruto in shock as they hadn't even seen him move. Kakashi and Sarutobi just sighed at the blonde's actions. Since the 3 weeks of being a team, Naruto had taken every opportunity to show how superior he was to Sasuke and Sakura. He did so for a couple reasons, one was to hopefully get them to quit or ask for a team transfer once they understood how weak they were. And the other was to get them to train harder to try and catch up. Sasuke seemed to take the hint and had trained harder. Sakura on the other hand, well she trained harder than she used to, but she was still more concerned about looks and Sasuke than her own life it seemed. In spars he would beat them down in seconds as brutally as he could get away with. And in everything else he would mock them and belittle any accomplishment they got. He hated being with them and was determined to either get rid of them or whip them into shape. I like you kid. Anyways, I'm the great bridge builder Tazuna. I expect top class protection on this trip. Kakashi just looked down on his students. Okay you three, meet at the main gate in an hour. Pack some supplies for I'd say a week or two. He then vanished in a puff of smoke. Sasuke and Sakura left out the door to do just that, while Naruto just gave a slight nod to Sarutobi before vanishing in his own shunshin. Tazuna looked back at his bottle wondering if he was seeing things before shrugging his shoulders and heading towards the inn where he left his stuff. So where's your sensei kid? Tazuna asked as he and Naruto stood by the main gate. Naruto and the old drunk were just standing there waiting for Kakashi as Sasuke and Sakura were standing off to the side. Sasuke was thinking about what might happen on the mission, while Sakura was trying to talk to Sasuke about how romantic the trip could be. Needless to say Naruto was barely holding himself back from throwing a kunai into her head. He could see that Sasuke seemed to be silently praying he would do just that as well. Tempting, but I can't. I can scare her though. He thought before turning back to Tazuna. Oh he'll be here soon. He then made a hand sign and 3 clones popped into existence right next to him. Go get sensei at the hero stone and tell him we've got to go. Drag his ass here if you have to. The clones nodded and vanished in swirls of leaves. Naruto then rolled his eyes and grabbed a kunai before tossing it at Sakura, giving her a slight cut on the cheek. Haruno shut the hell up. He's not talking and you're just pissing both of us off. Sakura held her hand up to her cheek and quickly glared at him as he just glared back. Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. Neither of you have a good enough poker face to hide shit from me yet. And I swear to Kami, if you try something I will shove my foot up your ass. She scowled before turning away and giving a glance at Sasuke to see he hadn't changed facial expressions once during Naruto's shouting episode. She sighed but stayed silent as she took out a small bandage and covered her cheek. I take it you don't like her. Or him either. Naruto muttered but stayed silent, showing he wasn't wanting to talk about it. Tazuna just shrugged and went back to his sake as they waited for Naruto's clones to bring their sensei along. Which was a surprisingly short wait as they all dropped him in front of the original 5 minutes later, with his hands tied behind his back. They then dispelled, giving Naruto the memories on how they captured him, and he shook his head as he untied the jonin. Seriously sensei, you need to pay more attention when you're at the stone. That was way too easy for 3 to get you. Normally that would have taken at least 10. The silver-haired jonin chuckled sheepishly before checking over the 3 of them and leading them out. So, Nami no Kuni huh? Naruto asked as they were all walking down the road. Tazuna was standing between all 3 genin, with Naruto at point, Sakura to his right and Sasuke to his left. Kakashi was a few feet behind them reading his book. When Tazuna answered in the affirmative Naruto raised his voice. Hey sensei, would it be okay if I go visit after the mission, but before we come back? Sakura and Sasuke got confused looks as Kakashi looked up from his book as he thought about it. I don't see why not. If there's no danger and we finish ahead of schedule then sure. He then went back to his book as Naruto was now staring ahead with what looked like a blank stare. But even Sakura could tell he was thinking about something. Is it where? She asked. Naruto opened his eyes a bit as he hadn't expected her to care. But then his expression softened a bit and he guessed he might as well answer. My ancestral home. Uzashigakure. Wait, you're not even from Konoha? Sasuke asked. Naruto chuckled and shook his head. No, I'm from Konoha. But my mother wasn't and neither was my clan. Deciding to explain he took a deep breath. My clan was the ruling clan of Uzashigakure of Yuzu no Kuni. They were exceptional fighters specializing in Fuinjutsu. And to a lesser extent, Kinjutsu. They were one of the first hidden villages formed before Konoha even. In fact after forming and seeing how they seemed to be doing well, the Uchiha and Senju clans which had been trying to come to peace with each other for years, decided they would join together and form their own shinobi village. They contacted the Uzumaki clan and asked for them to be the mediator to their peace talks and help them establish a village here in Hai no Kuni. Which my clan agreed to. Eventually they got the attention of Hai no Kuni's daimyo and the daimyo agreed to provide funds and recognize them as a separate military force so long as the village agreed to serve and protect the interests of the country. The result was the birth of Konohagakure no Sado. To thank the Uzumaki and Uzashigakure, Konoha became allies with them. The red swirl on my back and on the clothes of so many other ninja back home, that's my clan symbol. Worn proudly as a sign of honor and respect to the clan that helped the Uchiha and Senju found the village. I always wondered what that mark was. I thought it was just something the older generation wore cause they had to, like their headbands. Sakura stated as she looked at the swirl on his back. Naruto shook his head. No, cause otherwise it would be mandatory like them. It's not though and some people don't wear it. Most have forgotten what it means since this was so long ago. To further cement our alliance though, the Uzumaki clan head married off his daughter to the one chosen to be the Shaddai Hokage. In a way, I'm related to the first Hokages of our village. Naruto said with a grin. Sasuke stared in shock. You're kidding. You're related to the Shaddai. Inda. Uzumaki Mito was the woman he married. And she's sort of like my great aunt or something. I'm not a direct relation, but more like I'm cousins with the Senju clan. Sasuke and Sakura seemed to be quiet as they digested all the information before Sakura noticed something. Wait, so after the mission you want to go visit your clan's homeland? But we're going to Nami, not Yuzu. You'd be going to a whole other country. No I wouldn't because Yuzu doesn't exist anymore. Neither does Uzashigakure either now that I think about it. He said as he hung his head down. What do you mean? Sasuke asked. Sakura seemed to be eager to learn as well as Naruto sighed. I mean I'm like you Uchiha. I'm the last of my clan as well. This got both of them to recoil slightly as they didn't expect that. My clan and village was strong. They were a minor village, but they were as strong as one of the 5 greats. And said greats didn't exactly like that. Iwa and a few minor villages allied with it decided to put the Uzunin in their place as it were. They launched an attack that pretty much wiped them off the map. It wasn't a battle, but a slaughter. A massacre. Not one person in the village survived. This got Sasuke to grit his teeth and look down. Any mention of massacres got to him since his clan went through one. It was this that started the Third Ninja War actually. Konoha was outraged one of our closest allies was destroyed, so we retaliated. Both could tell that this had to be part of the reason he hated Iwa. After all they destroyed his entire clan and their village. You can't just forgive something like that. If nobody survived, then how were you born? I mean you said you were born in Konoha, but your clan was wiped out long before you were born. Sakura asked. Naruto chuckled slightly. About 10 to 15 years before the destruction and war, Konoha needed something. They needed someone with a special kind of chakra for a special task. They searched the village but didn't find one that fit the bill. So they had people search their allies to see if they did. Turns out, Uzashio had someone exactly like they were looking for. My mother was discovered to have the special chakra Konoha needed. After some deals and negotiations she was brought to Konoha and enrolled in our ninja forces. Naruto explained. When the war broke out, she was usually leading the charge on battlefields in vengeance for our clan. Uzumaki Kushina, the Akatakai no Konoha, Konoha's Red Death, the only ninja with a body count higher than her was the Yondaime. With her home village gone and being the last of the clan, she decided to restart the Uzumaki in Konoha. Sadly, she died the day I was born. He muttered with clenched fists and closed eyes as he thought about something. What neither of the genin knew. Kakashi sighed behind his book as he listened into the conversation. He was opening up to his teammates which was good but still had that problem of letting go of the past. Not that he was much better, which he freely would admit. Wait, you said you wouldn't be going to another country. You never explained that. Sakura pointed out. Naruto was about to talk, but Tazuna surprisingly answered that. That's cause Nami is Yuzu. he said before taking a drink. Seeing Sakura and Sasuke looking at him in shock, he continued. After the war, our people wanted to forget the humiliation of our total defeat and wanted to start fresh. So the country changed its name from Yuzu no Kuni to Nami no Kuni, and we never again tried to make a ninja village. We kept our close ties to Konoha and Hai no Kuni though. We just wiped our hands clean of our own shameful history. Tazuna finished and Sakura and Sasuke nodded as things seemed to make sense, as Naruto was quietly growling at how Tazuna referred to their slaughter as shameful. To him it wasn't shameful because though they lost, Iwa was damn near crippled from the fight, and if not for their allies, Konoha would have swept through them instantly. But as it was, they couldn't until the Yondaime came in with his Hirishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder Go technique. That was far from shameful. Alright, that's enough of the depressing talk for now. Kakashi interrupted. The genin looked at him, but then at Naruto, who had his hands balled into fists and noticed they were shaking. Both Sasuke and Sakura could tell the talk was starting to anger him, and seeing as he could not relax himself as he normally would by eating ramen or visiting the Hokage monument, they decided to drop it. Tazuna just shrugged and started drinking his sake again. The trip was silent and peaceful after Kakashi told them to drop it. At least until they noticed a puddle in the middle of the road. Naruto and Kakashi stiffened slightly, but otherwise made no motion to do anything. Sasuke and Sakura didn't notice anything strange, and Tazuna just kept drinking. They managed to get a few feet from the puddle when it actually happened. Two figures in torn black cloaks jumped out of the water and wrapped Kakashi up in chains before pulling and tearing the jonin to pieces. Sakura screamed in shock, Tazuna was scared into being sober, and Sasuke's face flashed through shock, fear and then settled on anger. One down, one started. Free to go. The other finished before they charged forward at Sakura, correctly assuming she was the weakest of the group. Sasuke sprang into action and tossed a shuriken that pinned the chain to a tree before locking it in place with a kunai. As the two dealt with being jerked back, he landed on the clawed gauntlets the two had and then kicked them both to the face simultaneously. They shook the pain out of their heads as Sasuke landed before they disabled the chain and charged again. One headed to fight Sasuke, while the other headed at Sakura again. Sasuke whipped out a kunai to his hand and started to block the claws of the Kirinin and try to find an opening, while Sakura was still staring in shock and fear. Just as the ninja came close and was about to take her face off with a clawed hand to the face, he was suddenly thrown back hard enough that he collided with the other and both crashed into a tree. Pathetic Haruno. At least the Uchiha fought back. Why are you a ninja again? Naruto taunted as he stood in front of her with his leg outstretched, as if he had just kicked something, which technically he had. If you're scared senseless by such a small thing, then you need to quit. You're just dragging us down even more than I thought. Now let me show you how a real ninja handles things, he said as he lowered his leg. The moment he did, he vanished into thin air and four Narutos appeared and rushed the two missing nins as they were standing. The clones split up to take them on 2-1 each. One was pounded between the two like a ball from a barrage of rapid kicks and punches, while the other was thrown to the ground before getting tossed up and slammed down again. Not even a minute later and both were wrapped up with ninja wire and tied up back to back. It was then that the clones vanished and Naruto was standing there without even looking winded. How? One mumbled out as he tried to stay awake. The other was silent, but that was more because his jaw was broken. Naruto knelt down and turned their heads to face him. Who the hell are you? The Kurai Kitsune, was the blonde's response. Both paled dramatically as they looked at him in horror. Sasuke was torn between anger at his fight being taken away, shock and fear at how simple Naruto had beaten them, and curiosity at why they were paling so much at his title. Other than being the only genin in the bingo book under that title, Kakashi hadn't told them anything else about it. And they didn't have a bingo book to check and see what he did to get in it. Now you two are going to tell me why you attacked us, who you're working for, and why you should live. Naruto ordered in a no-nonsense tone. Both nodded and the one that could still talk explained everything. From being hired by Gato to kill the bridge builder to also working with Mamachi's Zabuza and planning the small attack. They had no doubt Zabuza would shortly learn of their failure and would come himself next time. They also pleaded to be allowed to live. Naruto just stood with a blank face and they thought they were going to die before he lashed out with a kick that knocked both unconscious. Well, that's a little frightening. The demon of the mist, huh? Kakashi muttered as he seemingly appeared next to Tazuna without a mark on him. Said old man and Sakura both jumped into the air with a shout as they hadn't heard or felt him come up. They all then looked to his corpse to see a pile of shredded wood, no doubt from a log he had replaced himself with. Kakashi continued as if he didn't just drive too nearly into premature heart attacks. Naruto, you know those two are the demon brothers, right? Chunin level missing nin from Kiri. And Zabuza is an A-rank jonin that was formerly part of the Kiri no Shinobigatan and Ananin Shu, right? 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, I don't think Sasuke and Sakura are ready for this. Naruto sighed as Kakashi had a point. I know. We should go back. I may hate these two, but I don't want them killed. Sorry Jai-san, but we're going back to Konoha. Naruto said as he made a clone to carry the demon brothers. Sasuke scowled at missing his chance to actually fight, while Sakura seemed relieved. Tazuna on the other hand, looked more terrified than when the ninja was charging at him and the pinket. You can't. If you do then I'll die. He shouted. Kakashi sighed. You paid for C-rank protection. This is not C-rank protection. Unless you can pay for at least a B rank, then we're going back. I'm not going to risk my students dying when I know the danger that's coming. Tazuna flinched but then looked down. I see. And I'd like to pay you what you deserve, but I can't. Gato has our country in a chokehold. We're a fishing and merchant nation, and he has gained control of all the docks. Thanks to taxes he's placed on everything, we could only scrounge up enough for a C rank. Tazuna then raised his head and looked at all of them. Nami is dying off. Gato's thugs run around doing whatever they want because he lets them. We can't fight back because then he kills us. The bridge I'm building is the one and only hope for our country. With it complete, our nation would no longer be forced to use the docks that he controls, and our land would be freed. He knows it too, which is why he wants me dead. Be that as it may, you still didn't pay so I'm sorry but we can. We'll do it. Kakashi whipped his head around to see Naruto staring right back at him with a fierce determination in his eyes. Seeing the silent question, Naruto kept talking. Nami is dying, sensei. We can always set up an interest plan to get the country to pay us back later for lying to us. But I'm going to help them. Besides, what would my clan think if I knew our homeland was suffering and I turned a blind eye? Kakashi sighed. I'm with him. Sasuke spoke up, getting the attention of the rest. I was doing fine against that Chunin, so I think between your skill and his, we'll be fine. Besides, isn't Konoha known for helping stop suffering wherever we go? He asked with a smirk. He didn't care about the country in the slightest really. That was just a side bonus. He wanted to test himself against a ninja of higher caliber. The Jonin listed as an A rank threat that was once part of the 7 strongest swordsmen in the world was definitely a higher challenge. Kakashi sighed again and looked over at Sakura to see her opinion on the matter. She looked from the confident look on her teammate's face to the pleading look on Tazuna's before nodding herself. Fine then. Tazuna, it looks like you still have us for this mission. Chibi. The young Naruto was walking back to the academy with a large grin. He had passed and graduated early. Now he was going to meet the current graduates and be sorted into teams with them. He couldn't wait. As he opened the door he saw that the class was full of students a couple years older than him, all talking or whispering with the ones nearby. Nobody noticed him until he closed the door and walked inside. Which is when someone actually spoke to him. Hey kid, you lost or something? This is for the graduates, not students. Naruto looked at the kid to see a boy with messy brown hair that was spiked up. He had black eyes and on his cheeks were red triangle, signifying the child was an Inuzuka. He wore a long-sleeved black shirt that hugged his form, showing his developing muscles. He also had on over that a light brown coat with a red fur around the hood which was down at the moment. The kid was standing, which let Naruto see he also had on black shinobi pants. Sitting on the desk next to him was a small brown dog with black ears, also staring at him like the boy. In fact, since the boy had called out to Naruto, the whole class was now staring at him. I graduated. He answered timidly before shaking his head and then grinning as he pointed to his headband which was tied around his head. See? I graduated early and I'm one step closer to being Hokage. He shouted. The kid grinned and nodded his head. Well, not bad. Been a while since someone graduated early. I guess we got another genius this generation. He said as he sat down. He then motioned to the seat next to him that was open and Naruto just grinned and took it while the rest of the class went back to whatever they were talking about before. As soon as Naruto sat down the kid offered his hand. Name's Inuzuka Koji. This pup here is my partner Kairi. Said dog gave a small bark but otherwise stayed sitting. Naruto shook his hand with a grin. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I'm gonna be Hokage. Hokage huh? Well, graduating early is a nice jumpstart to that chibi. Koji replied. Naruto just huffed about his new nickname. I'm not a chibi. Sure you are. You're young, short, and I bet over half the girls here would call you cute. In fact, that might be nice. May get some of them to stop bugging me. He muttered as Naruto held a hand out towards the little pup. Kairi sniffed his hand before giving him a little lick and Naruto started to pet the animal. Heh, guess Kairi likes you a bit. Naruto grinned before he put on a thoughtful expression with his eyes squinted, strongly reminding Koji of a fox. Why would the girls bother you? Koji scoffed but otherwise didn't lose his cheerful look. Cause I'm from a big clan and I'm the rookie of the year. Or at least I should be. How good were you on the test? He asked as he genuinely became curious about how good the young blonde was. Iruka-sensei said I barely passed. But I still passed so it doesn't matter. He exclaimed. Koji chuckled at how energetic the boy seemed to be before nodding his head. True. He agreed before the door opened again and a tall man came in. He was bald and had red eyes. He also wore the standard Chunin outfit and looked over the class, which got silent as he entered. The man looked over the class with a smile until his eyes fell on Naruto. He then looked confused. Mind telling me why you're here, kid? I passed the graduation test early. The man closed his eyes and nodded his understanding. He knew exactly who he was and was genuinely surprised the QB kid was good enough to pass early. He also had no ill will towards the child. In his mind it was more along the lines of indifference. He didn't care if Naruto lived or died, so long as QB didn't get out he could care less. He pulled out a clipboard and noticed the revised teams, a couple small revisions from placing Naruto into the class as a graduate. Alright, well, good for you. Now to all of the students I taught, congratulations on passing. I spent the last 4 years whipping you into shape and now you get to head out to the world and show just what a great teacher I am. He declared, getting a few laughs from the kids. But seriously though, do your village and families proud. Protect your teammates, train your hardest, and always work towards your dreams. From today forth all of you are shinobi of Konoha. Do those headbands proud and live with honor. For that is the will of fire. He concluded, which got all the students to be staring at him with determination and happiness in their eyes. He could just tell this group would go far. Now, as for your teams. Team 1 will be, and everybody pretty much tuned him out except for their own name. Team 5 will be Uzumaki Naruto, said Blonde, whipped his head up as he looked at the Chunin. Inyazuka Koji, the boy's head went up with a smirk towards the shorty next to him. And Sakuya. A girl towards the back of the class smiled and nodded, apparently pleased with her placement. Many of the other girls started whining about not being with their Koji-kun though. Seeing as he no longer had to worry about possibly offending a future teammate, Koji stood up and spun around to face all the girls. Will all of you shut the hell up? I've been holding this back for 4 damn years. Your constant squealing and screeching has just been hurting my ears, damn it. Shut the hell up and actually try being ninja for once. He then sighed and sat back down with a quick apology to his sensei for interrupting him. Said man just smirked and shook his head as the girls that were fawning over him were now whining about how heartless their crush was. Think nothing of it, Koji, it needed to be said. Anyways, your sensei will be Hada Kakashi. Team 6. That's it for today guys, hope you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching.